everybody, I am Sam Hope and I'm the Graduate Recruitment Manager at Shoosmiths. So I am here today to talk to you about mentoring schemes and how you can get the most out of being a mentor or being mentored. So I'm going to run through a couple of different pieces of advice that I've got to give you, but if you've got any questions you can just type them into the comments box at the below and I will get to those at the end. Just bear with me a second, so I'm just going to share the video. And I just want to double check that you can all hear me okay. So if you could just give me a thumbs up or type yes, that would be excellent, and it will show me that you can hear me. So that is just refreshing now. Let's see where we are. Always a bit of a delay with tech when we get going. So thanks for joining us. So we're running this video today in collaboration with Nottingham Law School, who we do run a mentoring scheme with every year. In the past, we've also run a number of mentoring schemes with Northampton University, with Leeds, with BPP and University of Law across the country. So there's lots that go on across all of our offices. We always try and like to keep the mentors kind of local to where the mentees are, because that means if you do want to meet up at any time, it's a lot easier if you're, close in location. So I just want to gauge how many people are watching in terms of whether you're a mentor or a mentee. So if you can just type into the comments and just say mentor or mentee, that would just give me a really good indication of who's online. And also I do want to provide a register back to Nottingham Law School to let them know if you've watched today's video at the beginning of our mentoring scheme. So do make sure you comment so I can give your name back over to Melanie and Ed. Okay, so let's get started. So I said I'm Sam, and I've been at Shoosmiths for 8 years now, and actually we've run our mentoring scheme with Nottingham Law School for all of that time. It's important to us to be able to support and coach students in during their studies, so that you can get the best start from your career, so that you have the best advice from people that are actually doing the job and that can give you a real insight into the work that you'll be doing. And really that's so that you can really work out whether a career in law is definitely for you, hopefully at Shoosmiths, and also hopefully develop some skills along the way that will be applicable to any career. So basically, what is mentoring? So it's about advising, training, coaching and sharing knowledge and support, really. And I think the support element is one of the biggest parts, because you can go online, you can read lots of advice, you can watch our videos and learn about a career in law at Shoosmiths. But what perhaps we can't provide on an individual basis through our videos is the support that you might need. So I think having somebody that you can ask questions of and who's going to really invest in you as an individual and give you guidance is really important. And that's the benefit of mentoring. And I guess it's stepping away from what's what we can find on technology and using technology to become quite distant from each other. Is bringing that relationship back into the forefront of the mind. So I think the structure of a mentoring scheme through an employer and perhaps a university, like in this case, is pretty informal, and really the onus is on you as a mentee, so as the student, to make sure that you get the most out of the scheme. And I'm going to give you some top tips on how you can do that. And I think there are career benefits to both parties though. So once you've been paired with your mentor, which you guys have already, hopefully you'll be able to introduce yourselves to each other over email and get the relationship started and get to know each other and what each other's personal interests are outside of work as well. I think that's really important, because you need to start building that relationship by getting to know each other. But it's also really important to set some expectations up front in terms of what you think you want to get out of the scheme and how much time you're able to commit to it as well. So I think having that discussion on email quite early on is really important. So it might be, for example, that the solicitor that's mentoring you only works Monday to Wednesday, and they prefer to do contact by email. So they might say, only contact me Monday to Wednesday and by email. and that might work best for them. So it's setting those expectations in advance and being able to keep them going for really what should be like a long-term relationship that you're building. I think for mentors, people are often getting involved in the scheme because they want to give something back. And perhaps that's because they were given really good advice when they were going or starting out in their careers, or perhaps they had a role model that they looked up to and they can see the benefit that it gave them in starting out, and so that's something that they want to then pass on. It's very rewarding as well to see the advice that you're giving to somebody who then takes that advice and succeeds to achieve their goals. And so I think it is incredibly rewarding to be a part of a mentoring scheme. It's more than just giving advice though. I think it's really about motivating and empowering somebody to be able to do well. So I think sometimes when we've run mentoring schemes in the past, a lot of students have perhaps just sent over a CV to say, can you redraft this for me, or have sent over application questions that they've read and then ask their mentor to give them advice on where to start. And I think that it's not a mentor-mentee relationship, is not about somebody doing the work for you, but it's about giving that motivation and the guidance, pointing somebody in the right direction so that they can find the best way to get their own results. So you still have to do the work as a mentee. You've still got to write your CV. You've still got to do your own application questions, but perhaps drafting them first and then saying, do you think I'm along the right lines here? Or does this really sound like me? I think that's a much better way to approach it. And I think then obviously it's your own achievement, and that's what's really important. So what is in it for you? So I was thinking about what's in it, what's the benefits for a mentee being involved in a scheme, so a student. And I guess that's about being able to really think about the goals that you want to achieve long term. So that might be becoming a qualified solicitor, but obviously thinking about the small steps that you'll need to take in between to get there. So that could be writing your CV, answering application forms, preparing for an assessment day or an interview, understanding what lawyers actually do in different departments, understanding a bit more about a firm and how they operate as a business. So there's lots of small steps that you could tick off on your route to become a solicitor. And it's about hopefully achieving those goals a lot more quickly with the support and guidance behind you than you would have otherwise. But also about building a network. So building that relationship, growing your network so that you do understand more about the professional world and how you'll fit into that and whether that's for you. I think for a mentor, the benefits, and I've mentioned a couple in terms of it being really rewarding and being able to give something back. And I think you do need to be the sort of person that is a supportive person, but it's certainly a great way to develop on your own skills, particularly in terms of supervising. So if you're going to build your own career so that you're supervising others in a team, then mentoring and coaching is a great way to start. So I think mentors, what can they do to actually help, support, guide? They can act as a sounding board. So if you're a student and you're struggling with a problem or an issue related to your studies or applications, then you can use your mentor to bounce ideas off, and they can be quite, I guess, give you impartial advice, which will be really useful. Because I think, especially we've had, if you've got your CV drafted or your application form, you get your mum to read it, they're mostly going to love what you've done. They love your work. So getting somebody impartial in the profession is a great thing that a mentor can do for you. But also I think being able to give you the space you need to review and reflect on your work. So being honest with you and sometimes being frank, so that you can really see perhaps some of the errors that you're making and make that work better for you so that you can achieve. They can contribute advice, give their viewpoint. Perhaps you might have some healthy debate or discussions around legal issues. And again, that's broadening your commercial awareness, developing your communication skills, negotiation perhaps, persuasion. So there's lots that you can build on from this relationship and from this scheme. My advice between the two of you as a pair, aside from setting those expectations in the first place, is to think about what you actually want to achieve from the scheme for both of you. So it might be that you say, okay, well, we're going to have contact once a month by email, a couple of emails exchanged, but over the course of a year, we'll meet up twice for coffee or something like that. And I think setting that out in advance means that you can get your dates in order. The year doesn't just pass you by and you've not utilised the relationship that you're being given. For us, we would recommend that this scheme goes on till kind of around September time. We think that's good in terms of the calendar year for students and your studies. And of course, we'll be coming up for the training contract applications deadline in summer. So it'll be just after you've been through that process, hopefully, after you've had your interview and hopefully secured a training contract offer. So I've mentioned about agreeing how often you'll be in contact. One of the other points that I want to mention is confidentiality. So the relationship that you're building, and certainly in the career that you're going into in law, is all about trust, honesty, integrity, and confidentiality. So of course, whatever you discuss needs to be kept confidential. And the only thing I would say about that is if perhaps a mentor is concerned about the health and safety of something that they have been told, then just to raise that with a person in authority, but to try and discuss any issues you can with the student or mentee in the first place. But otherwise, of course, keep what you discuss confidential so that trust and honesty is there at all times. Throughout your involvement in the mentoring scheme for both parties, you should be reflecting upon the discussions that you're having and reviewing where you are in terms of the goals and what you set out to achieve at the beginning. So making sure that you are on track, and again, that year doesn't just slip by. So try and stay really organised. I think at the end of this scheme, it's actually really useful as well to be able to give feedback to each other in terms of how you did in your role. So the mentee could be saying to the solicitor, well, I really liked how you helped me with this problem, and that was great how we set the expectations at the beginning. And the mentor could give feedback on how the student has done and in terms of building that communication as well. So it's not just about even gaining all that advice, but it's about developing those skills along the way. So what makes a good mentor? So I was having a really good think about this, and we just had a really nice discussion in the office about role models and who has impressed us and helped us in our jobs. And actually in the team we were in, we were basically just saying the manager that's up from us, our line manager. But I think that's really, really important to have people that you can look up to and that you can learn from. Having people that you can think, okay, well, how would they tackle that problem? And then thinking about it in a more logical way. Perhaps like, what would Beyonce do? So what makes a good mentor? So being interested in helping others to succeed, of course, is top of the list. Reliable, honest and trustworthy, as I've already mentioned. But I think being an active listener, so really being able to listen and hear and pick up on the cues that somebody is telling you. Being able to reflect back on the issues, checking, understanding. So quite often in law firms we can talk in abbreviations and quite technical words, and I think just checking in to make sure that the student understands what we're talking about and the different processes involved in getting to the goal. It's really important for mentors to not be judgmental, not to make assumptions, and also to put prejudice to one side, because everybody does have a different way of doing things. It's important that the mentor is not just teaching a student to do the same things that they did, to take the same journey they did. Every journey is unique, so it's just about understanding that and being able to give advice, whatever the situation. And of course, sharing knowledge clearly, concisely, and making sure the student understands. Okay, so that's how to be a good mentor, in a summary. So what about how to be a good student, how to be a good mentee? So I think some of this advice is pretty frank, but I think is really useful and maybe doesn't get said enough. So I think remembering that the mentor isn't there to do the work for you, and I already mentioned that at the beginning. So making sure that you know that somebody is taking their time to provide you with advice that you should follow up on is so disheartening when we provide advice and then it's not followed on. So do take it on board and do try to, do it. If they open doors for you, grab those opportunities with both hands. If there is an opportunity for a day's work experience or work shadowing, if there's an opportunity to come to a networking event or something like that, if you can make it, do it. Because they're the sorts of doors that are going to open throughout your career, and you're always going to want to develop and build your networks. I think that you need to be hungry to learn, improve and develop. And if you are, that comes across with enthusiasm and passion. So just show that if you are. Don't forget to ask thought-provoking questions. And I mentioned having a bit of a debate or a discussion about legal issues. All of that is fantastic for both of you and interesting. So yeah, absolutely, go for it. Be open to feedback. So it might be that they critique your application form or your CV or another piece of work. They might give you some feedback on their first impression of you. And whatever it is, take it on board and listen to it, and just be open and mindful about the information that's coming into you. But of course, set goals. Set goals, be clear on what you want to achieve from the relationship so that you can reflect back and understand what the success was. I think respect your mentor as well. So if you've agreed to meet, then, show up on time. If you've agreed to contact a couple of emails per month, then don't bombard somebody with loads of emails and phone calls all in one day. Just obviously to understand that they have other commitments as well and that they're donating their time to help you. So don't overdo it. But be committed, put in the work, develop yourself, and be honest about what you want to get out of it. And if you don't understand something, that is fine, just say. Okay, so I've come up with a couple of questions that I think would be really useful to ask during your mentoring scheme. So if you've got a situation, you could ask how the mentor went through the same situation and perhaps about the challenges that they overcame. Or how they were feeling during that process. And I think by being able to share that situation perhaps will help you with yours as well. I guess the key thing about this mentoring relationship is that the solicitors and trainees that are mentoring you have been there, they've done it, so they will have had some of the same experiences as you. Ask them to share their story. Tell them what is the most, ask them to share what's the most useful piece of advice they were given, or what was the most useful thing that they did when they were applying to firms. Get them to share their knowledge and their story, and it will certainly help problems feel less scary if you know that they've been through the same thing. Ask for feedback. So we're really busy, everybody always is, and sometimes things do slip off our radar. So if you haven't heard from your mentor in a while, don't be afraid to drop them an email, ask for feedback on the last thing that you were talking about, catch up, and I think about the goals that you set at the beginning and revisit them throughout to make sure you're keeping on track. You could ask them what their perception of you was and how they think you can develop skills, especially if they've been through your CV or application. Then they're going to have some really good advice, hopefully, for you on how you're perceived by a law firm and what a law firm is looking for. So it might be that you set over every month a specific topic that you might talk about. So 1 month you might focus on talking about application skills, 1 month you might focus on talking about assessment days, you might focus on talking about their story and their advice. So I think that's another really good way to set it out at the beginning, covering a number of different topics over the year, or setting out that you want to do that right up front. But what I say is, don't try and cram all of this into your first email with each other. and this video will be published onto Facebook, and we'll pop it on YouTube as well. We'll make sure that it gets sent around to everybody on the scheme. So if you do miss this live, you can catch up later, and you can, unfortunately for me, watch it back and listen to my advice again. So if you get halfway through the scheme and you think, oh, I don't remember what I'm supposed to be doing here, you can always watch this video back. So I've got a few more tips, and one of the things, well, I was talking about mentoring earlier, and somebody said to me, I guess it's just a friendship, but it's got a bit of a professional edge to it. And I thought that's a really nice way to sum it up, because it is about building networks, which is really just building your friendships, giving advice to each other. There's no reason why perhaps a mentee couldn't share some advice back to a mentor as well, just because they've already been through that process and they're more senior in terms of profession. So do think about perhaps what you could give to each other, not just from mentor to mentee. So I wanted to remind you that the summer vacation placement and training contract application did open today. Very exciting. So my advice to you would be to apply for both of those if you can, because that will give you a fantastic opportunity to come and do some work experience at Shoosmiths. The deadline, if you want to apply for the VAC scheme and the training contract, is the 28th of February. My advice would be to submit your application by the end of January. And that's because we are, as well as the application form, if you're successful at that stage, you'll go on to do a video interview. So we want to get that in and then have plenty of time to let you know if you're successful, so you can prepare for your work experience. If you want to hear more about the application form, then just literally just type application into the comments now, and I will make sure I come back and link you straight back to the application form where you can read the questions, because you can go in, look at the questions, save it and come back to it another time. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. I'm hoping that on the mentoring scheme, you're going to really find out what Shoosmiths is all about, learn about our offices, our culture, our areas of law, and of course our people. And at the end of that, you might think Shoosmiths is definitely where you would like to do some work experience and train. So I'm hoping you will want to go and look at the application form. So I wanted to share some final advice with you, really. So throughout your career, you're always building your knowledge. You're always trying to find more information about things, develop yourself, show that you're self-aware, committed, show that you've got great commercial awareness and you've got wide reading. And so it's something that's fantastic to start now, developing yourself and being involved in this mentor scheme, because it is something that you will do for a long time if you're committed to your career. So I've just joined a group on LinkedIn, and it's called, what is it called? Hold on, I've noted it down. It's called We Think Differently, and it's run by Steve, who's the branding man. And on there, he's created a space where people with similar interests in the profession of early careers and digital engagement can come together and learn from each other. So I just wanted to really share that the learning never stops, and learning from others never stops as well. So even though I've been at Shoosmiths 8 years, it's still really important to me that I keep up to date with what's going on. So we do also run a number of groups. So we have one on LinkedIn called Careers in Law UK, and I will link that into the bottom of the video for you, so you can follow that and join that if you wish. And we're obviously on Facebook. We have an Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, everything, and then YouTube too, where we post loads of videos. And it's useful not just for those who are starting out in law, but those who already have a career in law and just want to broaden their knowledge about different areas of focus for law firms. So I will link all of those for you. And yeah, I kind of guess that's pretty much my advice summed up there. So I'm going to have a look and see if anybody's got any questions. I'm pretty sure you've listened to me ramble on for long enough now, so bear with me while I find out if anyone's got any questions. I can see loads of you have commented thank you, so that I can register you. So if you've joined in with the video late, if you can just type whether you're a mentee or a mentor into the comments for me, so that I can see that you have joined onto the video today. I'm just going to send a little register back to Nottingham Law School to let them know if you've joined the mentoring scheme and watch this video. Loads of you saying hi, hello. Okay, so Cameron has said, how do you apply for a mentor? So Cameron, mentoring schemes that we are part of are usually run in conjunction with universities and careers advisors, where the teams at the uni will advertise it out as an opportunity, and then students can sign up, and then we pair you with a solicitor or a trainee solicitor within our firm. So if you would like some more information on that, I can message you privately, and we can see if there's a scheme that we can get you onto. So thank you for your question. So Annette has asked, can first years apply? So Annette, do you mean apply for a training contract? If so, you can't apply until your penultimate year of study, if you're a law student. Let's have a look. Okay, so loads of you saying application, which is great, so I will send you the details. So this is the final chance now. If you would like to ask a question, then you can just type it into the comments. We've got some of our mentors joined as well, which is great. Always a slight delay, so I'm giving you a chance to type in a question now. Okay, there's nothing coming through. So all that leaves me to say is, if you have liked this video and you'd like to see more, then just hit the follow button, and it means that you'll get notified when we go live. We've actually got live video tomorrow, so it's a really good one to tune into. And if you want to watch our previous videos, you can watch them on YouTube. You just need to search for Shoosmiths video, or you can watch them on our Facebook page. Okay, so I've had some questions now. Zara says, has there been many opportunities for mentees to attend the office for the day? So Zara, we do this on a really local basis. So it's whether there's an opportunity available through your mentor. So it's absolutely something that you can ask about, but I would build up your relationship first, get to know each other over email, perhaps meet for a coffee if you can, and then an opportunity might arise where the mentor invites you into the office to look around, get to know some other people, and perhaps go for lunch or something. So yeah, I think that is an opportunity. Keep it in the back of your mind, but don't make it the ultimate thing that you want to gain. Think of the wider picture of the goals that you want to set yourself over the year. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions, you can of course drop me an email. My email address is samantha.hope@shoosmiths.co.uk, and I will see you next time. Thanks.